Ladies and gentlemen, please welcome to the stage author and radio host Larry Elder.
Thank you. Oh my goodness. I can feel the love. Nobody took a knee. Thank you all for coming out. I can just feel all the energy, all the enthusiasm. They told me I have no more than 20 minutes to speak, so I'll speak quickly. I get paid by the word. So I'm from LA. I arrive in the Charlotte airport to come here to Greenville. And when I'm in Charlotte, black guy in the airport walks down. He's got a T-shirt on that says, "I can't be calm. I have a black child." That's exactly what I said. I said, "What? I can't be calm. I have a black child." Obviously, what he's referring to is this narrative that the police are out mowing down black people just because they're black. It's fascinating to me. I am a big sports fan, and one of my favorite sports teams of all time is the so-called Fab Five. You might remember them. They were 5 freshmen. They started Michigan. They made back-to-back Final Fours. One of the Fab Five is a guy named Jalen Rose. Jalen Rose had a long career, 13 years or so in the NBA, good career. Became a sportscaster, and he's woke. He's one of these guys that believes in this narrative. Now, I once heard somebody tell Jalen Rose that they felt he had a mediocre career, that he came out of University of Michigan, a lot of fanfare. 13-year career is a long time in the NBA. The average career is 3 years. But he did not achieve the same numbers that some people thought he should achieve. And he said, very calmly, "You see, that's the kind of comment that would be made by somebody who's never played basketball at the highest level. Because if you knew this, I played for 3 teams," he said. I played for Denver, and when I was in Denver, who set the record for assists for a rookie in Denver? Then I got traded to Indiana. I had a different position. Top 10, my position. Then I got traded to Chicago. Who in the year I was at Chicago, in the top 10 with 20 points, 6 dimes, 5 boards? Me. Holla at your boy, he said. And my point is, he very carefully, skillfully, logically, with facts, with data, outlined what he thought was a very successful career. And he's right. The same mind, when it comes to this, "Oh, why does this keep happening? Oh, why are they doing this? Oh," Doc Rivers, the coach of the LA Clippers, "why do these things keep happening? Why do we love America? America doesn't love us back." I saw Doc Rivers speak at a country club in LA once. Logical, structured, facts, data when it comes to his profession. If you apply the same mentality to this issue, you say to yourself, well, 50 million police-civilian interactions every year. Out of those 50 million police interactions every year, there are 11 million arrests. Out of those 11 million arrests, 60,000 officers are assaulted. After the 50 million interactions, 11 million arrests, 60,000 assaults, 1,000 people out of a population of 350 million people are killed every year by the police. Of that 1,000, almost all of them were resisting with a weapon or resisting violently. When you get down to the handful of white cops who killed an unarmed black person, and by the way, unarmed does not mean not dangerous. Michael Brown was unarmed. His DNA was found on the officer's gun. So, if you are looking at the percentage of white cops who killed unarmed black men who are not reasonably perceived as a threat, you're talking about less than 4% of all the people the police shoot every year. 500 of them are white, 250 of them are black. The police kill at least as many unarmed whites as they do unarmed blacks. Name one. Because nobody cares. Van Jones doesn't care. CNN doesn't care. MSNBC Hee-Haw doesn't care. They only care when it's a white cop killing a black person. Now, if these guys spent a fraction of the time analyzing this issue the way they analyze their own careers, they would realize the narrative is BS. Now, just having a BS narrative is neither here nor there if it doesn't have any downsides. This has huge downsides. First side, the cop side. You're a cop. Why in the world would you be proactive? Why in the world would you try and stop crime? Why in the world would you do anything other than answer 911 squad cars? Why? What's the upside? You're going to be accused of engaging in police brutality, institutional racism. So screw it. Cops pull back. They become more passive. It's known as the Ferguson effect. And what happens? Crime goes up, and who's hurt? The very black and brown people that the so-called Black Lives Matter proponents and their sympathizers claim they care about. What's the other thing that happens? If you're a young black man and you've been told all your life, they are out to get me. Jesse Jackson's told me that. Farrakhan's told me that. Sharpton's told me that. Van Jones has told me that. Don Lemon's told me that. Well, if I get pulled over, why wouldn't I be wary? Why wouldn't I think this guy's going to do something to me? Why wouldn't I be ready to have a confrontation? So you have affected both sides with this lie. And it is a lie. The youngest tenured professor in the history of Harvard is a black guy named Roland Fryer. He just knew that the police were using deadly force against blacks just because they were black, and was kind of surprised that no one had ever done a comprehensive study about it. So he decided he would do it. He knew it was going to confirm it. He looked at his results, and looked at his results, and looked at his results, and he said, this is the most surprising finding of my career. Not only did he find the cops were not shooting blacks just because they were black, he found out the cops were more hesitant, more reluctant to pull the trigger on a black suspect than on a white suspect. It's a lie. It is not true. In the last 50, 60 years, according to the CDC, the rate at which blacks have been shot by the police has declined 75%. Meanwhile, 15,000 homicides every year in this country. Half of them are black victims. And they ain't being shot by Confederate generals. They're not being killed by the Aryan brothers. They're not being killed by the KKK. They're being killed by other black people in the neighborhood. Chicago, Labor Day weekend, what are we talking about? 50 people killed, shot, 5 killed. The weekend before that, 66 people shot, 5 killed. The weekend before that, 55 people shot, 10 killed. Where's Black Lives Matter? Where are these people? Black kid kills another black kid, just a dead fly. White cop kills a black kid, international news. You're being manipulated. You're being used. You're being played. And the media does it for one reason and one reason only, ratings and clicks. The Democrats do it because they want black people to vote for them, and they want white sympathizers to vote for them. And the idea is to get 95% of black people voting for the Democratic Party. Think about that. Why would 95% of black people vote for the Democratic Party if it weren't for the perception that America is racist and we Democrats wear the white hat in that fight and those guys over there, they wear the black hat? That's their theme. Because if you take away that, let's look at abortion. 25% of the abortions are on black women. Black people are more anti-abortion than whites are. Look at the stats. Same-sex marriage. Black people are more opposed to same-sex marriage than whites, however you feel about it. You're talking about education? I went to a high school called Crenshaw High School. If you saw the movie Boys in the Hood, that was my high school. Ice-T went to my high school 10 years after I did and chose it because it's a Crip school, meaning the gang Crips control it. And in a recent article in the LA Times, 3% of kids from my former high school can do math at grade level. Now, what parent within a geographical area of that school sends his or her kid who just graduated from middle school to a school where only 3% can do math, and it's a Crip school? The Democrats are mandating that your child go there whether you like it or not. Republicans want to give you an option out of an underperforming government school, and they're the bad guys? Baltimore, where Freddie Gray died. The time he died in police custody. The mayor is black. The police department chief is black. The number 2 guy in the police department is black. The state attorney who brought the charges against 6 officers, black. 3 of the 6 officers, black. The judge before whom 2 of the cases were tried, black. City council, all Democrat, mostly black. At the time, the U.S. Attorney General was black, Loretta Lynch, and the U.S. President was black, Barack Obama. And we're talking about institutional racism when black people are running the institution? Are you kidding me? What did comedian Wanda Sykes say after Obama got elected? How are you going to complain about the man when you are the man? Knock it off. You're getting people killed. Meanwhile, 13 high schools in Baltimore where 0% are math proficient, and another half a dozen where 1% is. That's half the high schools in Baltimore where either 0% are math proficient or 1% is, and we're talking about police brutality? Are you kidding me? Yes, sir. You're being manipulated. I don't know anybody who had a harder hand dealt than my father. My father was born in Athens, Georgia. His irresponsible mother threw him out of the house when he was 13 years old because he was quarreling with his mother's then boyfriend. My father leaves, picks up anything he can do. Ultimately, he became a Pullman porter on the trains. In those days, they were the largest private employer of blacks in those days. And my dad came out to California once, and it was sunny, and you could walk into a restaurant and sit down and be served. He couldn't believe it. So he made a mental note that maybe someday he'd relocate to California. Pearl Harbor. My dad joins the Marines. Right. Semper Fi, bro. And I said, Dad, why? And my dad said, 2 reasons. You know what they are. They go where the action is, and I love those uniforms. My dad is stationed on the island of Guam. Bombs fall, war is over, goes back to Chattanooga where he met and married my mom. My dad was in charge of cooking facilities in the military. He was a staff sergeant. My dad can look at a cake and tell you what's in it. That's how good he is. He wants a job as a short order cook, 1945. He goes to restaurant after restaurant after restaurant in Chattanooga where he had met and married my mom. And they said, we don't hire niggers. My dad goes to an unemployment office. The lady says, you went to the wrong door. My dad goes out to the hall, sees colored only, goes to that door, to the same lady who sent him out. My dad went home to my mom and said, this is BS. I'm going to California. I'm going to get me a job as a short order cook. I'll send for you after I get a job. My dad comes out to L.A., where I live now, walks around restaurant to restaurant to restaurant. I'm sorry, we only hire people with references. My dad said, I need a reference to make eggs? He even offered to work for free for 2 weeks and then write me a reference. Nobody would do that. He was treated the same way in LA as he was in Chattanooga. They were just a little more polite about it. He went to an unemployment office, only one door, and he sat there, and the lady finally calls him up after a day and a half and says, I have something. I don't know whether or not you want it. My dad said, of course I'm going to want it. It's a job at Nabisco Brand Bread cleaning toilets. My dad did that for 10 years. He worked for another bread company at the same time, full-time job, cleaning toilets for that bread company as well. He went to night school 2 or 3 nights a week to get his GED because he got kicked out of the house and he never went back to school at the eighth grade. And he cooked for a family on the weekend. The man never slept, which is why he was so grouchy all the time and why I had such a difficult relationship with him. And my dad told my brothers and me the following: hard work wins. Yes, sir. You get out of life what you put into it. And he said, Larry, you are not in control of the outcome, but you are 100% in control of the effort. And before you moan and whine about what somebody did to you or said to you, go to the nearest mirror, look at it and say, what could I have done to change the outcome? And finally, he said, no matter how hard you work, no matter how good you are, bad crap will happen. How you address that bad crap will tell your mother and me if we raised a man. By the way, I wrote a book about all of this. It's called Dear Father, Dear Son, 2 Lives, 8 Hours, about the 8-hour conversation my dad and I had, because I hated his guts when I was growing up. I didn't realize his background. I mean, I knew he didn't have relatives because we never got any gifts from him, but I had no idea what his life was like. And he sat down and told me about everything he'd gone through. And at the end of this 8-hour conversation, this man was bigger and bigger and bigger, and Larry was smaller and smaller and smaller. And my dad was a lifelong Republican. And he always said this: Democrats want to give you something for nothing. And when you try and get something for nothing, you almost always end up getting nothing for something. God bless you all. God bless our great country. We're going to win in November 3rd. He's going to triple the black vote. And we're going to win. God bless you. Peace out.